Hi, this is Peggy with Natural Awakenings Magazine, and we are here today with Diane Roth. I'm so happy to be talking to Diane. She is the founder of Roth Structural Integration up in Highland Park, Illinois, and I've spoken with Diane for years about a lot of different things, and she's an expert on structural integration and helping us realign and rebalance our bodies, which I think is something that a lot of us are needing right now. So welcome, Diane.
Hi, Peggy. Hi, everybody.
So what is structural integration for people who might not be familiar with it?
Structural integration is a kind of body work, or in this case, fascial connective tissue therapy. And it works to align, balance, and educate the body to function better. So we have a body, it's put together in a certain way, or a history of everything that's happened to us, our accidents, birth, our professions, our emotions. And sometimes we get out of alignment, out of balance. And this is it is a kind of body work that helps to put that back in line. And it's done over either a series of 10 sessions, that is like an A to Z, kind of starting somewhere in the superficial, going to the core, and then balancing that, done in a clinical way. So you might come in and say, "Oh, my shoulder's killing me," and you don't really want to address the whole body right then. You want to, well, you might not want to, but of course, because of the way I work, I always look at your whole body, because you're not a shoulder. So even if I was doing a clinical session with you, I'd be going, wow, what's driving that?
Yeah.
What's driving that shoulder injury, besides maybe that your dog pulled you across the street or something? But there's still going to be ramifications from top to bottom from that. So that's what structural integration is.
So is your work done using a table, or is somebody on the floor, standing, sitting, all of the above?
It's on a massage table, but yes, also standing and sitting. Structural integration is one of those forms of body work that uses body readings. So a person would usually have athletic clothes on, athletic bra, shorts, what I would look at, we would take a history, like, what's going on with you. And then I would look at them front, back, to the side, watch them move, because that explains a lot about what's functioning and not functioning in that body.
Yeah.
And sometimes the work is done, it's done on the side, it's done on your back, on your stomach, or sitting, sometimes standing. A lot of movement stuff is done standing. So it's various modalities.
Yeah, a combination of different things. Well, when you and I were talking, and part of what's bringing up this conversation is many of us are coming from a time of isolation and a time of sitting more, doing work in our homes or out of our familiar environments, and far more stresses. So what are you seeing? How is that affecting our fascia, our aches, our pains, and everything else? How is that affecting us now?
It's a great question. So my practice has been open since the beginning of June. And sitting has been a real problem. Some people have been super active. I have gyms in their houses, so they weren't really affected, right?
Yeah.
Most of us were sitting, watching a lot of Netflix, especially here in Illinois. It wasn't nice out in the first part of the quarantine. Or some people are working from home, and maybe their jobs are even more stressful now.
Or they may have been working, doing carry out, doing deliveries, or in healthcare.
Yes, on healthcare workers. So yes, a lot of sitting causes a lot of stress, a lot of pelvic issues. A lot of people are talking about feeling really stiff, even more so than in our regular world, back to the before time. And I see that all over, and I feel it in the quality of the way the tissue feels under my hands. So someone, let's say I have a client, and he or she has been coming every few weeks for a number of years, their tissue feels like that. It has an elasticity and an openness, a hydration. It changes because SI, structural integration, is a lot about change. It's not just about a panacea. We're not just going to do palliative. We want the system to change and to function better. And I did notice that as people started trickling back, that we generally, many have lost that kind of elasticity. Doesn't take a lot to get it back once you start working with it again. But I think that's what I've seen is just, and then there's a huge emotional component, I think, to having this kind of isolation. I have been lucky to be, I sheltered in place with my husband, so I had company, but many people didn't. And even if they had company, there's just a difference in the way we had to socially isolate that's not normal for human beings, right? We are a social group. We live on that positive, that contact. And so when we started to get into, here's what I noticed. When we were first quarantining, everybody was FaceTiming. We were all like, oh, can you believe this? And then as it went
putting the selfies up everywhere.
Right. Nobody was FaceTiming. Nobody was like, oh, I haven't FaceTimed that person, because we started to kind of fold into ourselves. Right. That's kind of a starvation, a social starvation, a touch starvation. People were adopting pets all over the place, right? Because there's some kind of factor there. And I did do a little, when we have that kind of I'm just going to call it touch starvation.
Okay. Or touch deprivation.
Yes. Cortisol increases. So cortisol is the stress hormone, right? It's fight or flight, it's anxiety, it's depression, it's trouble sleeping. And many people were reporting things like this, especially as
talking to yourself.
Yeah. And then as we get back into hopefully a more positive way of being, more balanced way of being, our endorphin hormones go up. So oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
And there are things that you can do to help yourself with that, like, to become more embodied, like foam rolling and just stretching or doing a Zoom yoga class, just kind of feeling more in your body. Now massage therapists and body workers like me are back open here, but I'll just say a good percentage of people are still not comfortable to have that kind of contact. I mean, it's done right now. We're all practicing with COVID disinfection protocols. So many things have changed about the way we practice face masks, but it's certainly not a social distancing kind of thing.
You still have to be close enough to adjust.
You have to be close.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing that I think doesn't follow those protocols. But I figured that I'm a sole practitioner. No one else is in my office but me. And so it's probably safer than going to a grocery store where there are lots of people touching everything. But again, I have 100% respect for everyone, wherever they are on the spectrum of what they're comfortable with.
So if somebody comes to your office right now or comes to your home practice, which is your office, what can they expect? What's going to be different in a visit, and what should they know in advance?
It's a good question. I mean, I disinfect everything before and after every client. Every pillowcase, every sheet, there's nothing shared. Really, the phone, everything gets done. People have to take their shoes off outside of the office. They got to go wash their hands before we work, and face masks, basically. So that's what.
Yeah, but other than that, it's going to be your full structural integrative treatment every time.
Yes, absolutely.
So you mentioned for people at home that they could, who aren't able to come in to an office yet, that they could be doing foam rolling. So that would be buying a foam roller.
Massage balls. They sell, if you go on to Amazon and do self-care, there's a million toys out there for rolling, and I think they're really effective.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you can't go see your body worker or your chiropractor and you have, you know, something going on, you can get on, there's miracle balls, I think the name of one thing, foam rollers. There's so many things. And they, I think they're great maintenance tools. Heat, ice, baths, Epsom salt baths. These are wonderful ways to get your body detoxified and increase your circulation.
Get up and move.
Moving. I didn't even put that in there because that, I'm assuming, but I shouldn't assume.
Yeah, it gets tricky because you're still, whether you're at the office working, you're sitting working, you're trying to keep kids occupied, you know, whatever. It's one more thing. Shoulders are up and the
right. There's like the opposite of being isolated and touch deprivation is the mom who has 3 kids at home and is now teaching them and working. and I've seen some of those come back to my practice because they want me time. So it's sort of the opposite of that. They've been so overwhelmed with having to do everything. They need an hour to say, oh, this is about me now.
Yeah. So if people want to learn more about structural integration and want to learn more about what you do at Roth Structural Integration, how do they reach you?
Roth, ROTHSI.com. Very simple, rothsi.com. And there's a contact app there, or my phone number, text me, my email's on there. It's basically many ways.
Set up an appointment and
yes.
Start feeling better.
I'd like to, chat with someone on the phone before they come in so they understand what it is I do, and I have an understanding about them too and what they've done in the past for their own well-being. But yeah.
Okay, well, great. Well, thank you so much, Diane. Enjoyed spending the time with you and learning more about structural integration and some things we can be doing at home to start moving and start stretching out again.
Thanks, Peggy. Always good to see you.
Thanks, Diane.
All right, bye.